Before we get into today, I have two things to say. Number one, please don't come for my wig, okay? Number two, let's give a little commotion for the shirt. I'm a little worried about being a slut, which I was planning to wear for this video anyway, but the direction my notes went in was unexpected for me when I first came up with the concept of this video. And now it's just ironic because, as you can tell from the title of this video, I will in fact be talking about being a slut. Oh, also this shirt is from Creepy Gals because I know you guys will ask. A couple months ago, I had the idea to make a video about Tom Bilyeu because I was always seeing him interview like really scammy people. So I was genuinely like, who is this man? And why is he platforming, in my opinion, problematic people? Mostly like grifters. So as I researched more, I found out that he and his wife, Lisa Bilyeu, actually owned that company Quest. And if you're like me and have your sister's Max account, but she's a broke bitch, so she doesn't pay for Max with no ads, then you've recently seen a lot of Quest ads. Also, I've been in the anti-MLM realm for some time, and I feel like I've seen a lot of people in that world repost things from Tom Bilyeu and from Lisa Bilyeu, his wife. So I was like, what is going on here? Like, what's their deal? Basically. Then Goddess herself came down upon me and bestowed a 3+ hour video on Tom Bilyeu's YouTube channel of him interviewing his wife, Lisa. It is 3 hours and 17 minutes to be exact. And yes, I watched the whole thing, but I genuinely cannot wait to react to these clips with you because I'm about to go off. The video has the longest title in the world. Tom Bilyeu and his wife expose red pill, what women desire and how to become irresistible. Lisa Bilyeu. I was really shocked that by the end of this video, I felt like I was a fan of Lisa's. I also left that video being a much bigger hater of Tom than I thought I would be. So that's fun. He has a lot to say on what we as women think and what our opinions are. He knows better, so what can you do? The derangement of culture, yeah boy, and the evils of sex work. So we are really in for a treat. Since my channel is still very small, I don't have sponsors yet, but I'm open to them. My email for business inquiries is in my caption. I would very much like this video to remain monetized. So due to the nature of these topics, I'm going to be bleeping out a lot of things. That being said, this video is not made for children, so please remove them for the time being. And it's headphones time. Basically, I'm just going to take you through some highlights from the 3-hour video, debunk some things, and school this motherfucker. So let's get into it. And if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a like and subscribe to the channel. I have a scams and occults and manifesting playlists. I think that will be linked on the side here. And I think that this video should be the first in a playlist called like commentary. So let's get into the first clip.
Look, it's entirely possible that I'm so wrong that this is what men are getting wrong. They all think like me and we're just driving off a cliff.
But I'm also one that is very attracted to ambition and drive.
Yes,
so
I know. That's why I'll give my pitch. Yeah. So far you've killed ambition, you've killed drive. They're not universal for you. Successful.
In what? Define successful.
Worldly success. So they can provide financially.
I don't think that's a, oh God, I don't want to bore. I think to an extent, yes. A woman probably would want that.
So are we calling that must meet minimum requirements?
Yeah, so even like ambition and drive, I think has minimum requirements. Again, if you're just a person that sits on the sofa, watches Netflix and smokes weed all day, I can't think of that as being attractive in any circumstance. So do you tie that to ambition? Do you tie that to drive? Do you tie that to success? It's
all three.
Yeah. So yes, there are bare minimums then for all of those.
Okay, so at this point in the video, Tom is basically interviewing Lisa about what women want. And so he's going through like a checklist and asking, what do women think about drive? What do you think about ambition and success? It cracks me up that he's like taking these diligent notes on the side, like a little physicist or something. It's like, you're having a pretty normal conversation with your wife. I don't know. Also, please take note of the very cool and casual way that he wears his backwards cap. It's very normal and human and cool.
Okay. Can hold space for female emotions.
1,000%.
Yeah. Hey, I'm one of
But isn't
four.
that what I was seen earlier? That was part of my being
Okay,
seen.
that's how we're defining that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Holding
fair.
space for me to have emotions.
Okay. Well, actually, in fact, the thing that you and I fight about all the time. You'll get 9 words into a sentence. I'll be like, yes, I understand exactly where you're coming from. I can steal man. I'll explain it as well or better than you, and that is deeply unsatisfying for you.
You're like
you
causing anxiety
hate,
right now.
yes, you hate that so much.
I do.
And yet, I actually can do it. But it doesn't. Even though I see you in an avatar way, I know exactly what you're going through. You need me to hold space for you to be in that emotion.
The way that he talks about his wife is very unsettling to me. He knows her and acknowledges her in an avatar way, and he's like, I can see everything and I could bestow that upon you, but you need me to hold space for you. You guys, they've been married for 23 years. He literally said verbatim, we fight about it all the time. Why are you fighting about that all the time? Like, where's the disconnect? You know, is he not being a good partner by providing space? Is she asking too much of him? I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just saying, like, maybe that's just me. I definitely get heated in conversations, but I am not one to fight, especially in that way. Like, I feel like it's just a conversation. You know, it doesn't have to turn into something that's a big blow up. Like, that's a big red flag, especially when you're talking about being a better partner. Like, again, that's called good communication.
And even if it is something that warrants aggressive and immediate action, this just came up the other night. You needed me to hold space for a while, where it's like, no, even though in that conversation you said this is a fix-it conversation, I can tell by your body language and everything, it was, and you very quickly by normal standards moved on to yes, and now I actually want the thing, but I had to ask for permission to roll my eyes back in my head like a shark and pursue it. And you said yes, and I started doing it, and I was like, oh, it's actually too soon. And so it was way faster than normal, but I did need to hold that space for you.
Yes, correct. And I don't know if you remember the very first things I said, because you asked me a few times. The very first time you asked me, I said, I just need to have my emotions. And it was always like, I know, I do want you to fix this, because that was the thing, like, I do want you to fix this. And I know that actually that you are the right person to fix this for me. But right in this moment, I just need the emotion. So it was the duality of knowing that when I came to you, you paused me and said, is this one that you need to be seen, or you need to, or, you know, you carry space, or do you want me to fix it? And that is fundamentally, I think, one of the biggest issues most couples have. In fact, today, as I was going through, what's Tom going to ask me? I was in the doctor's and she's literally taking my blood. And I was like, what is the biggest problem that women have with men? Because I was like, you know, what are the sorts of things that your audience are going to want to know? And so I said to literally the nurse, and she's taking my blood, and I'm like, what's the one thing? She goes, he doesn't just hear me out. He's always trying to fix it. I didn't even preempt her. So I was like, it is universal. So if we know it's universal, how do we navigate? We both have come up with a strategy in our relationship where if I do come to you, because mostly it's me coming to you, in that moment, you stop me because I'll try to get better in saying, I just need to be heard. But if I don't say that when I first come up to you, you stop me and say, well, hang on a minute, babe, is this where you need space, or is this where you need me to fix it? And being able to communicate that now allows you, I don't want to shut that part of you off that really just wants to go and fix it, right? It's giving you the opportunity to be able to say, hey, you can fix it. But it's also allowing me the moment where it's like, I don't want you to fix it. I just want to feel seen and heard. And that dynamic has been beautiful. We're not there yet where I just automatically can say that to you, that you're having to ask me. But I think that there's always ways to navigate things like that. And instead of pitting men and women against each other, oh my God, here she goes again, she just wants to be heard, or oh my God, here he goes again, he just wants to freaking fix it. It's like, instead of complaining, find a strategy and a method that allows you to communicate in a better moment, or in moments like that better. And so, yes, women want to feel seen, but I do understand why you say seen and holding space isn't necessarily one for one. There is nuances there as well.
I just find it very bizarre the way that she talks about their relationship almost like it's brand new. Like she said, we're not there yet, you know? And again, it's like, you've been married for 23 years and you're putting up with him not communicating, seems like effectively at all. Like, I mean, I'm just speaking for me. I am super emotional, so it's really important to me that my boyfriend is really present with that. That is something that we have worked on and improved through our relationship. But if we were still having major issues like 3 years into our relationship, only 3 years, like I said, like that's a huge red flag to me. That's not somebody that I could be with personally. I can't remember if I snipped this clip for this video, but Tom did mention in their video at some point that Lisa is very emotionally stable, and that like is good for their relationship, obviously, because he is a little bit more like robotic, I guess, according to them. That's not even my observation. Like, this is what they said in the video. I also thought it was funny that Lisa said, she's like, well, see, I told my nurse about this, and so it's universal. 2 people equals universal consensus. Noted. I'm just playing though. Like, I get where she's coming from. It is true that like a lot of men in relationships tend to be that way. It's just a generalization. It really is. So the way that they speak about this so definitively is really interesting. And when you're not chained to that very specific expression of relationship, I feel like it can improve your relationships because it allows you to be more yourself and to not feel like you're playing a role, unless you're into that. That is a thing. Anyway, let's go on.
Emotionally strong. And I'll actually change that to stoic.
To an extent, because sometimes you're too stoic. And I've said that to you, where it's like, I don't feel like there's any feeling or emotion radiating off you. You just feel like you're a wall and you're just a robot and you just say the word.
That's so sexy. Keep talking. Tell me more. I feel seen.
Oh my goodness, so funny. but I don't like that. I feel like I'm talking to a shark, like you said. And so you want someone that's emotionally stoked. So for instance, when I'm emotional, I want you to be able to hold space and be able to not then get emotional, because now if both of us are emotional, it won't, like, I always need that stability. But when you're too stoic and you don't show emotion, I don't feel like I can communicate with you. And so I'm always, trying to find those words to be like, I need you to show your feelings right now. I need you to express yourself, because I don't feel like we're communicating the way that makes me feel connected to you. And the way that makes me feel connected to you is to hear how you're feeling.
Yeah, see, I guess I did include it. And I forgot to mention the comment about him rolling his eyes in the back of his head. I was like, ugh. But yeah, to me, like, that's just the bare minimum to provide space and reassurance. And also, like, I love to bitch and moan. Not all the time, though. Like, I contain multitudes. While I love to complain, I am not the type of person to complain nonstop for an extended amount of time before I do something about it. Thankfully, my boyfriend is the same way. They're talking about things in terms of gender, but in my experience, it has a lot more to do with just personality. It's the same in my friendships. My friendships are really important to me and they're very deep. So I've navigated things like that in my platonic friendships as well. They're talking for 3 hours, so you probably can glean that a lot of the information is just, it's giving 25-year-old takes mushrooms for the first time and gains empathy. You know what I mean? They're saying these things like these incredible truths, and it's like, yeah, we know.
Okay, so you said that all paths are equally valid. I'd like to see if I can get you to reconsider that stance.
Because you don't believe it.
I don't believe it, but you walk me through. Maybe I'm crazy, but let me paint a path that is some small percentage, but it's the path that everyone points out when they want to have the argument about the derangement of culture. And in fact, I'm going to plant an idea I want you to start thinking about as I think through this. Something is deranging culture. If you agree with me on that, I want to know what the essence of it is. But here is a path that I think is very, in terms of the symptoms, shows a lot of the symptoms of a culture that is deranged. So you get male styles in their 20s.
Male style?
Yeah, one night stands, don't get in your feels. I'm just here to Tinder, and then I'm out, and yeah, I've got a high body count. I've had a lot of fun, and what's it to you? And then you get OnlyFans models. So they are recognizing that the male gaze is monetizable and that men are feeling lonely. Men want special access to females in a sexual context, that they can sell that. There was a woman that made like 10,000 pounds. I can't remember her name, but selling her bathwater. And some of her stands, I don't know what else to call them, drank the bathwater. Like, I mean, just like crazy stuff. So you also have the sugar baby phenomenon. So you probably won't know who these are, but there's a show called Fresh and Fit. I think it was Nico Drew, can you back me up on this? That got a sex worker pregnant. There's a lot of controversy around whether she was actually an OnlyFans model or a prostitute, whether he knew and all this. But anyway, he met her on a sugar baby site. So it's women that are looking to be quid pro quo. Maybe you pay a little bit of my rent. Maybe you pay my car insurance. Maybe you buy me a car, whatever. They come up with different arrangements. All of that being not only a thing, because of course there have always been relationships like this, but that OnlyFans is celebrated. Like, oh, you have an OnlyFans account, you're making how much money? Like, wow, that's amazing. And certainly you'll get, again, small subset. I'm certainly not saying that this is common, but it's common enough that it's really the lightning rod for the culture war around this, that it is so prominent. Strikes me as like every alarm bell people have should be going off. And when I see symptoms, I want to know what's the underlying cause. But first, I just want to say, now having thought that that's a path, hey ladies, here's what you should do. Have sex like a man because it's super fun. Get yours. No reason to be in your feels. By the way, men are so easy to manipulate. You can hire a team of guys to write back and forth with the guys as if they're you. You can make, I mean, some of these people make millions of dollars a year. Some of them, at least in the beginning, make millions of dollars a month. I mean, it's like there's real money to be had. Of course, the vast majority of them make virtually nothing. They put themselves out there for all repercussion and no advantage. But still, that strikes me as a terrible path that I just don't think you thought about and would, of course, warn people away. But if you would say, no, like that's
OnlyFans specifically?
Yeah, the male style sex. And somehow monetize the sexual desperation of males, whether as a sugar baby or OnlyFans model.
Okay, so 2 things there. When there's demand, there's going to be a supply. So OnlyFans wouldn't exist if guys weren't going on there and paying for it. So it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg?
Which is the chicken and egg?
Well, that's the point. Like, I don't.
Just male desire came first.
Right, so male desire came first. They weren't getting fulfilled. So OnlyFans spun up. Women were just like, oh, is this an opportunity for me to make money? I literally don't have any judgment on them. I'm like, because there's a demand, someone came up with a supply. So you can't really blame the women for going on OnlyFans when guys are willing to pay for it. So that's number 1. Number 2, in regards to the have as much as you want, I do agree, have as much as you want. But you can't fight biology. And biology says that women secrete oxytocin. And so when you sleep with a guy or a woman, you secrete oxytocin. So over time, the majority of women don't just keep sleeping around for the rest of their lives. So I go, okay, I understand biology. We actually strive for connection. If you're looking for connection, don't go and have one-night stands. If you go and have a one-night stand, know the dangers, right? There's STDs out there. There's dangers as a woman. You think about the threat if you go to a guy's partner. Like, all of that is real. So I don't blanketly say, you go and have as much as you like, the guys. It's like, no, actually look at what are all the possibilities and dangers that come with this. And I freaking hate that you guys say about body count. Hate. I should be able to give my body away, or not give it away, but I should be able to share with whoever I freaking like. Now, even though I feel like that, and no one can dictate or should dictate how many more guys I've slept with, I just go, is it fact? Actually, do you really care about how many people I've slept with? Do most guys care about how many guys I've slept with? If the answer is yes, while I don't think it's fair doesn't really play into it. And so I just go, if I sleep with 100 guys, that's on me. If that makes me happy. Yes, like, I'm not here to shame any woman.
So yeah, if you didn't know, your girl is an OnlyFans model. I prefer to just go by the all-encompassing term sex worker. So I obviously have a lot to say about this. I think that it's hilarious that Tom keeps talking about this derangement of culture, because it's just like, has culture not always been deranged? Would you not think the same exact thing when slavery was present in the US? Do you not think the same thing of different iterations of modern day slavery, such as the prison industrial complex? Colonialism, you didn't think that was deranged? Okay. Just want to get that clear. Just want to get that straight. I think that my presence alone would scare this man to death because I am a sex worker with an STD and in a long-term relationship. It's like, I think that his mind would just explode. I have herpes, by the way, if you didn't know. I made a video about it and it is linked up here.
Well, the beef with OnlyFans is more that women are doing it and they think it's okay because they're not actually having sex.
Why isn't it okay? What is wrong with me taking a photo and saying, does anyone want to pay for this? Anyone? Why is that wrong?
Would you think it a bad look on me if I was like, I don't want you to post nudes on OnlyFans?
I would ask you why. I wouldn't say it was a bad look, but I would dig deeper. I would say, okay, why?
Would you be surprised?
Let me ask you.
I will certainly answer, but first, would you expect me to be like, oh yeah, I don't mind?
No, I think you would have a problem with it.
Why do you think I would have a problem with it?
Because I am showing my body to other people. And I think, you specifically, my husband, Tom Bilyeu, right? Okay. I think you feel like that's yours to see and protect. You're not a jealous person, so that's why I don't go to, you're jealous of other people, other guys are going to draw all over my photo. So it's the only thing I can go to.
Yeah, I think that it's a very deep and complicated thing. There is a sense of that's mine. Now I'm speaking now abstractly because that would be less troublesome for me, but I think that will be a big thing for a lot of guys. Some of the complexity around that specifically is that's very exploitable, and I would not want that. There is something, even if someone were generating AI imagery of your body, I would not like that for the same reason. That's super intimate, and sharing that I think is really high risk. All right, so, but setting aside my because I want to keep mapping out how you think about this. So as I try to predict what you're about to say, I find that my prediction engine on this topic is completely broken. And so as I ask myself, okay, I'm obviously unmoored from the way that you think about this.
Did you think I would be against OnlyFans?
Yes, and I think by the end of this conversation, I will maybe be able to, I'm not saying I have to convince you right now, but I think just in nailing down some of the things I'm about to ask you, you might go, okay, yeah, I really hadn't thought about some of the knock-on effects yet.
My opinion about corn, even when I was a pretty devout Christian, has remained kind of the same, which is as it relates to your relationship, you both just need to be on the same page. That's it. It's really that simple. So in my case, obviously being a sex worker in a relationship, my partner and I are both very pro corn. I actually got into this work at the beginning of our relationship and I kind of was casual about it, like, oh, what do you think about this? Because in my mind, I was like, if he's not okay with this, then this relationship won't last because this is something that I want to do. But he was on board with it. That was obviously great for several reasons. But it's like a relationship to relationship thing. I think these broad sweeping statements get you nowhere. And part of the empowering piece of sex work to me is that it's a reminder that regardless of how much like monetary value you put on your body, including your mind, by the way, and like your skill set, whatever monetary value you put on something that's a part of you is effectively null because we're inherently valuable as human beings. And so I find that work extremely empowering because I'm able to set my own prices, set my own standards, be choosy with who I spend my time with, spend my time exactly how I want. Of course, like any job, there are going to be downsides to it, but those are just a few things that I love about that work. And that's exactly what it is. It's literally just work. It's literally just how I make my money. I know that's not the case for everybody. A lot of people go into it for survival because there are opportunities to make a lot of money and the demand is there, just like Lisa said. So it's like, is Taco Bell taking advantage of you because you're hungry and they're selling you tacos? You know what I mean? Like, is the grocery store taking advantage of you because you need to buy groceries and you know, that's the closest store to you? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Have you ever been to like an old-fashioned diner and you see like all the old men sitting at the counter and there's like some cute servers kind of hovering over them? It's honestly not that different. It's really not to sex work. Obviously it can be different, but I just mean in terms of the connection that you have to make with your customers. It's very similar. Speaking as somebody who has been a barista before. I also forgot to mention that people like Tom will speak about how much money people are making on OnlyFans. And it's like, first of all, he makes it seem like it's so easy. It is a lot of work to be an online sex worker. If that is, you are building your platform from scratch, like I did. If you already have a really large platform, then creating an OnlyFans, for example, is often a really good business move and pretty easy. But I'm speaking from a different side of that business where I had 0 platforms when I started and then built my way up from there. So no, I am not making $10,000 on my bath water. I wish, maybe one day. But it's just like, that is not, you know, the universal experience. In fact, a lot of people try to get free things from you when you're a sex worker, more than people who want to pay you. Just so you know. I've even been scammed before from the promise of money because I was just like at a desperate point in my life. Just keeping it real. I'm just saying, I really, really hate how reductive these conversations are and how few of them actually involve sex workers from varying backgrounds and demographics. I'm looking at you, Fresh and Fit. Also, in the overall conversation about sex work on the internet, there's such a massive disregard for the fact that a large aspect of it is actually healing work. People want to be accepted and cared for and understood. Like for me, I go to a massage therapist because of the healing touch, but also I've become friends with my massage therapist and we'd like talk through the whole time. And it's like a really positive human to human experience that is kind of rare these days. That's why, like I said, you know, you'll see a lot of old men at like an old-fashioned diner, because that human to human connection and intimacy, even in a platonic way, it's really lacking in our society. So sex workers fill an important void. And I'm not even speaking about today's culture and society. There's a reason sex work is the oldest profession. And again, I'm not trying to sugarcoat the industry because, of course, like every industry, there is a dark side for sure. I'm very privileged in that as an online worker, I've been shielded from a lot of that. However, I'm definitely not immune. I'm simply just trying to pull back the curtain and show you like the whole picture of what they're trying to claim about an industry, or I shouldn't say that, I should just say Tom, but he's trying to claim about an industry that he's not a part of. Also, it's really ironic that a lot of men who think like this are actually clients and customers. Ask any sex worker. And you know, if you have a moral issue with it, again, like I totally understand that. In that case, it's really just as simple as going your own way. It's the fact that people are so obsessed with sex work specifically over any other industry in terms of like rescuing people from it, which some people do need to be rescued. But the system that currently exists doesn't allow for that in an effective way with the reality of what trafficking, for example, is, and just sex work in general. People hide their curiosities behind judgment, and it can be really exploitative to survivors, especially in terms of wanting to hear like the nitty-gritty details of their experience and story. You know, you want to talk about exploiting people and they're potentially their most traumatic experiences. And again, the way that Tom is so sympathetic of these men, like, oh, these women are, these evil sirens are taking advantage of them. The vast majority of my clients, I would say like 99.9% of paying clients are very normal people. They're employed. A lot of them have normal, happy relationships. Like we'll talk about our relationships with each other. They're respectful, they're friendly. And on top of that, they're paying me like a small business instead of getting something for free. Like they're choosing that, again, like that personal touch. Support small businesses. Like I kind of mentioned, the majority of negative experiences I've had was with people who refuse to pay or people who try to aggressively haggle with me. And at this point, I can suss it out like pretty quickly, but there's still a lot of time wasters out there. So again, it's like these guys that you're feeling bad for and sorry for. I just don't get it.
So knowing that fulfillment is the North Star, and that the recipe for fulfillment is hard work to build skills that allow you to serve yourself and others, how on earth is a life of male-style sex for women, an OnlyFans account, and becoming a sugar baby? How is that working hard to build a set of skills that serve not only you but others? Like, paint the path, because maybe there is one through all of that, and I just have a ton of biases that make me not see it.
All right, so let's deal with OnlyFans first, and we'll go into the sugar baby thing. So OnlyFans for me is, like, I need to know more about the person's story. So for instance, let's say I'm doing OnlyFans so that I can actually pay for my education, so that I can then go build impact theory. All right, now starting OnlyFans actually is part of my path to fulfillment. It's my mechanism in which I'm funding the thing I actually want to do. And so that is a very clear, easy way of saying it can absolutely do that. And what's the second part of your question?
You were going to make the connection for me between how I walk the path of male-style sex, having an OnlyFans account, or being a sugar baby, exploiting male sexual desperation.
I don't like the idea of exploiting male desperation. Like, that really doesn't hit me well.
Okay, but do you not think that's what OnlyFans is?
I'm sure, so I don't want to be naive. Of course, I'm sure people absolutely, right? Where it's like they see something like, oh, here's a weakness, let me go and use that to my advantage. That doesn't sit well with me at all. I don't like that. But I think that happens in pretty much any industry. So let's even choose our industry. we very much are very authentic and actually wants to help people. We know a lot of people in this business that also have exactly the same heart, and they're working hard in order to really help people. But we also know people that see the dollar signs, and they're doing it purely to make the money. And what they're doing is they're actually using people's insecurities, people's fixed mindset, or the idea that people really want to grow as a mechanism for them to make money. So I think any industry has that. And OnlyFans is highlighted because it is against men. That is why I think this has become such a big thing with the red pill community, and I'm really speaking out about it. And again, I have compassion because I don't think that's nice, that's not kind. I'm somebody who always tries to greet people and help people, not make them feel badly. But I don't want to pretend like, oh, OnlyFans is the only industry that does that. Absolutely not. We women get that all the time. They exploit the fact that we want to feel beautiful.
Lisa pretty much hit the nail on the head here. I'm really glad she mentioned about their industry as well, because yeah, self-help industries are extremely dangerous in a lot of cases. A lot of scams involving sex work are just bots. Otherwise, you have to seek that out. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention this earlier, but Tom was saying how a lot of OnlyFans models will hire companies to talk to men for them. And I personally have not found that to be the case. I think if they have like a ton of followers, then yes. First of all, if you follow them on other social media, it's really easy to find out if they are actually replying to them themselves. I think that's just my opinion actually, but you could just tell in terms of authenticity and also the size of their following. For me, I don't have a huge following, so it's like you can make the connection of why would I hire an agency to handle my dealings and then give them like 50%. Actually, I'm gonna make a video on OnlyFans management things because I think that's a big scam. I really do. I don't want to veer too far from what I was saying and my point, but there is a Catfish episode with this guy who is supposedly an OnlyFans manager, and he and his girlfriend or friend, I can't remember, would use the likeness of an OnlyFans model to start conversations with men. And the whole scam was they would get money from these men by asking for money for Chipotle. It was so weird. But again, like, they're not sex workers, they're taking advantage of sex workers. That's what I feel like the big issue is with criticism of the industry. You're focusing on the wrong thing here. And again, it's one of those things like, why are you so concerned about this? There are far bigger issues when it comes to like relationships and culture and society, the derangement of culture. There's literally a war going on. By the way, there's a link directly in the caption of this video where you can support families in Palestine. Every week, I'm going to be donating $10 to a different family. So hopefully some of you are driven to do the same because lives are at stake and we can do something about it. So thanks for listening. Anyway, back to what Tom was saying. There are just bigger issues in the world and there are scammers in every industry. So it's just like you're focusing a little too much on that because it has to do with controlling women's bodies. Sorry, it's the truth. Just like any industry, buyer beware.
There might be people out there that are paying for their kids' college. Let's say it's a single mum where the guy has been verbally abusive, physically abusive, and they take their kid out of that marriage, but now they don't have a house, they don't have a career because maybe they decided they were a stay-at-home parent, and the guy has manipulated them, hidden the money, like all shit happens. And so they end up with a kid and not even a roof over their head. For that mother to be able to survive, to have a house, to put a roof over their child's head, if their first step is OnlyFans because that's their way of trying to get out, yes, I support that. Because it's not done in a manipulative way. It's not done to go, I see that guy over there, he's desperate, so I'm going to market to him. It's a very different intention around it.
I'm glad that Lisa mentions survival sex work because like I said, that's a big part of it. And I'll admit, for me too, it was a part of the reason I went into it, but I could have done other things if I wanted to. I have that privilege. I felt drawn to it. So to just be like, oh, you have to be like close to death to turn to this, then it's okay. It's like, that's just crazy to me that you're focusing on sex workers as if they're like this demons of society when Wall Street exists, when DC exists. Like, that's just bizarro.
Something tickles me that there's still a problem there. And this goes back to why I think religion is such a good stand-in for, hey, here is ancient wisdom on how to align yourself with what Mother Nature wants you to do. I have a feeling that the body is considered sacred and only to be shared in the dyad because of the evolutionary high risk of sex. For women getting pregnant with the wrong child, one, just childbirth often killed the woman. I mean, the rates of mortality and childbirth used to be astronomically high. I don't know how high, but I'm going to guess in like the 10 to 15% range. Like it would have been very appreciable in a prehistoric period. So we would be hardwired to be women are very coy and cagey about sex. They don't pursue a male strategy for, I think, a very wise evolutionary reason. For men, the reason that they care, which is one of the questions you asked me, just from an evolutionary lens, that one is very self-evident. You need to be certain of paternity. And the only way to be certain of paternity, since you can't really know, is to be the only one that has access to the woman in a joint thing of you do some talking, quite frankly, and then she also is loyal.
Do you not understand what evolution is? Evolution means that we've moved beyond living in a certain way because we've evolved past it. Obviously, I'm being snarky and I understand what point he's getting at in terms of generalizations. Like, I get that. He refers to casual sex as male style sex, which, yuck. But personally, this emotional connection that he speaks of is not something I've experienced when I've partaken in casual sex. That's just me though. And I think it's totally valid if you are a woman who does experience that. And I've seen men experience similar things too. We've evolved beyond that survival instinct. And I think we need to start just being realistic with what we see like actually going on in the world with people, a diverse group of people around the world, and not just based on static text. You know what I mean?
I want to be with you. I want to have access to these resources. None of this is perfect. You and I have talked about this many times. The size of male testicles tell you that we're in the middle. We're not completely monogamous, and we are also not just wildly polygynous. So we do tend to settle into relatively stable pair bonds. I have a feeling that while I get what you're saying about we don't want to be judgmental because we don't know somebody's circumstance, and I would much rather see a woman be able to have an OnlyFans account than her kids go hungry 1,000%. And quite frankly, because when you get into what is my intellectual framework, I think that freedom is a really big thing. And one of the things I was mapping out as you were talking is optionality seems very important to your worldview. And so you don't want to tell people what they can and can't do, but you've said 1,000 times in this interview, which you will get clipped out of context, so I feel for you already. You've been very clear that, hey, people need to face the reality. These are trade-offs. And you can sleep with 100 guys, but there are going to be consequences. But hey, I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. I just really want you to open your eyes and be honest about, you have to assess all of this, including a lot of guys are going to care, including huge risk of STDs, including you're probably putting yourself in a situation where the risk of sexual violence goes up, and on and on. And I mean, not even to speak to the emotional vulnerability that women have during sex that men don't. There's a big discrepancy there that women can get caught off guard by a lot. Okay, so I'm beginning to understand where you're coming from, but like I said, I think there are evolutionary reasons why that will leave the person feeling badly about themselves when they're by themselves. I think I've not gone deeply enough in this to really say that I have high conviction, but pretty high intuitively for sure, that any woman, I feel much more strongly saying that, any woman that exploits their body will have a profound sense of disease. I don't mean modeling, but any woman that like really exploits what would spill into the sacred side of like, that's your body, it's a temple, I think there will be some algorithmic problems.
Oh, I forgot to mention, this section of the video is called Consequences of Promiscuity. But oh my god, this section of the video made me feel like almost sick to my stomach, because who the f are you to talk to someone about some kind of brokenness? That is such a subjective thing. Like, literally, the audacity. Like, how presumptuous can you be? Truly. He talks about religion being ancient wisdom, but when he talks about religion, he clearly means Abrahamic religion, i.e. texts written by and passed down mostly, not all, but mostly, don't come for me, by men and for other men.
I don't think that every woman feels like it's this exploiting thing. But it all depends on how you're doing it, why you're doing it, and if you feel forced to do it, if you're doing it because you don't have any other means of revenue, right? Like that can be a problem, I think. So there's so many different reasons, but I don't necessarily agree 100% that all women will find it in that manner. Yeah,
it's interesting. So you're touching on another thing that I think is very real. That is very much outside the scope of what we're talking about right now, but women like to be the center of sexual attention. So yes, going to a party, a woman liking to show off her body, but I have an intuition that something breaks when they are monetizing it. That I think a woman at a party who chose to be there, decides how much she wants to be ogled, feels very differently than somebody working in a strip club where she has to let somebody touch her more than she would like because she needs the tips and that's how she's making money. But just, again, I have an intuitive thing. I've not explored that a lot, but I have a feeling, going back to just the overly simplistic, evolution does not want you to do that because of the high-risk situation that you're putting yourself into, that is going to trigger things in guys in terms of paternity. I mean, there's just all kinds of complexities around that. Again, I'm giving a very simplistic version of that. But okay, so going back to the core question, which is, are some paths better than others and some worse? And I think any time that you have a specific aim, there are going to be things that are better and worse. Now, I've given a definition for what I think makes something better: efficiency of moving towards something that uplifts you and others. I don't know if we've nailed down, so optionality is a big thing for you, so it might be the thing that leaves open the most options, and is very honest about the consequences of anything that you choose. So I think a lot of your answers are going to sound something like, hey, I want you to do what makes you happy, but you need to be really thoughtful about, does this actually add up to fulfillment? Am I closing doors that I might not want to close? Since you would advise them to deal with the world the way that it is, not the way that you wish it were, you're going to be talking about, hey, some guys aren't going to like this, so shut doors. So,
this man literally needs to shut the f up in the most disrespectful way. Lisa, are you okay? Girl, I can tell you've been crying and you're needing somebody to talk to. First of all, women, I just want to let you know that according to Tom, we like to be, all of us, every single one of us, we like to be the center of sexual attention. Yep. I'm just gonna fix that statement. How about this? Men make women the center of sexual attention. Him saying that he has an intuition that something just breaks when a woman just goes beyond. I'm just like, what are you saying? And then this synthesizing word salad he uses to talk about like optionalities and mapping out like robot words that observe a very human situation in a super inhumane way. Also, paternity? What the are you talking about? A lot of sex workers are in marriages and long-term relationships. It's very common. Like, he's not a woman and he's not a sex worker. So I think it's so bizarre that he's making these statements. He has, like, how would he know any of it? It's okay to have your own opinion about something like sex work. Like, you don't have to be in it to have an opinion. I get that. But this intuition thing about a woman breaking, I'm just like, what? There is such a thing as consensual sex work. There is. Keyword, consensual, adult.
We agree that culture is deranged. In the way that you answered that question, it does not seem like you believe that women going into careers just to make it easy is the root cause of the derangement, or you believe that it is at least part of the cause of the derangement, but the benefits outweigh the negatives. Which of those is true?
Oh, women are the cause of the derangement.
Women going into careers and absolutely smashing.
Yes,
I'm not blaming them. I'm just saying there is a knock-on effect. Do you know what MGTOW is?
No.
Men going their own way, but it's something like 40% of men ages 34 to 50 are single and not seeking a relationship. So they've said, this is all bullshit. You have to work twice as hard to get a woman that is 4 times worse than your grandma. So your grandpa had a farm. He just did his thing. He was not a spectacular businessman. He was not making $5 million a year. He did not drive a Lamborghini. He worked a farm and grandma was rad. And so he got this amazing woman without having to hit these ridiculous standards because grandma wasn't out in the workforce. So when grandma is making $175,000 a year, it completely deranges culture. Not because she's a bad person. We all get why she wanted to do that. But you have a very meaningful percentage of men that have just said, I'm not even going to pursue a relationship.
I just want to read to you the men going their own way, MGTOW, as he said it, Wikipedia page. Men going their own way is an anti-feminist, misogynistic, mostly online community advocating for men to separate themselves from women and society, which they believe has been corrupted by feminism. The community is part of the manosphere, a collection of anti-feminist websites and online communities that also include men's rights movements, incels, and pickup artists. So I just want to call to action. This is who Tom is defending. This is who his audience is. This is who he's representing. It goes on. Like other manosphere communities, MGTOW overlaps with neo-reactionary alt-right movement and has been implicated in online harassment of women. The Southern Poverty Law Center categorizes MGTOW as part of the male supremacist ideology. So because women want to work in a career, or have to, which is one of the only careers where women are the dominant workforce and make more than men, keep that in mind, that is worse to you than an actively misogynistic group of incels. Don't you have a wife?
So what I hear you saying, because you're using contemporary stories, is that women have not gone far enough and that they need to get more powerful so that they can stop being taken advantage of.
Not necessarily. It's just why we are where we are right now. That women, there's, what is it, 3 to 1 women going and getting a college degree and things like single people.
That's a slightly different stat. So what it ends up being is that by the age of 38, there are 3 single women college educated, 3 single college educated women for every 1 single college educated man.
Have you asked yourself why?
Yes, it's a unfortunately shockingly simple answer, which is that women end up bringing themselves out of the dating pool because they got old and they are no longer as valuable to somebody who's looking to have kids. Men can very easily, especially as they make more money, date somebody younger. That's why this is bracketed in age groups. So it's that you just get men going with younger women, and there's a ton of complexity. But I'm trying to get at, because you're really making awesome points, which is I'm never going to get you to say anything that sounds to you like women are lessening their power. This is a more power thing, and I think you would, in fact, let me just ask, I assume you would apply this to men as well.
Yes.
So ladies, go get as powerful as you can, men, go get as powerful as you can. Okay, so the issue that I don't feel I have a great answer to is that where does this go from here that's positive? Because I have a vision, 2 visions that I think both are actually going to play out, and both of them are interesting. So step 1 is going to be the radicalization of everybody, and women are going to be encouraged to go flex as hard as you can, but only in ways that are good for the family. And they will be told, and it will be true, that in many ways this is good for you. But it does hobble them in that now they're not career ready and they have not seen that. But there are some very distressing stats about women who prioritize career over everything, and they end up very unhappy. And this is why you and I refer to the path that we're on as the dangerous path. It's an amazing path, and the views are f***ing awesome. But I do feel like that we walk on a mountain road with no guardrails. And while I'm very comfortable up here, it is not the path that I encourage other people to walk, because it's like, hey, this is just higher risk. So that is going to happen. My prediction. So I think you're going to see a huge push for that. It's already trending. Trad wives and things are already trending on TikTok. I think it's going to gain a lot of steam.
Which those videos are insane, by the way.
Some of them, and then some of them I'm like, yeah, I get exactly what they're appealing to, which is ladies, embrace your femininity. You've played the masculine game. And here's the elephant in the room that we have to talk about. You have a temperament that leans masculine. And here's the spoiler alert. Few things in my life have been more advantageous than the fact that you have a slightly masculine leaning temperament. You are still very feminine. And in fact, I told you, hey, there is a way that you could go down that path where I stop being interested because you become too masculine. And I have no interest in that whatsoever. But you're super emotionally stable. Your hormones don't swing very wildly, which has caused health problems that you're working on. But I'd be lying if I said that it wasn't also advantageous in that it is very easy to get along with you because you're just extremely emotionally stable. So anyway, you're gonna see that. The other one is when I look into where the future is going, I think that there is a possibility. I haven't spent enough time thinking about what the odds are, but I'll put them right now at 50-50. As AI comes online, and artificial wombs become a thing, which they can already, I'm almost certain that sheep have been raised in external artificial wombs already, that as AI comes online over the next, this could be 25 to 50 years, but it will happen. Sex robots become a thing that you can, as a guy, you can have a perfect woman who legitimately is programmed to love taking care of you. She remembers everything you've ever said. She remembers all of your preferences, and she's designed to get a deep and profound sense of fulfillment out of taking care of you and making you happy. And she would be crestfallen. She would scream. It would be cruel to make her have any other career. That's really going to happen. And there will be a bifurcation that's outside the scope of this interview, but there'll be a bifurcation where some people will reject all that and it will be a pure human life. Those people will be ultra traditional by nature. And so let me tell you, women will have very traditional roles in that branch of humanity. And then over on this side, you will get men truly going their own way, women truly going their own way, because they will also have the perfect male who listens and
he can try and fix things, just here's your help.
Of course not. He holds space for you and reads you legitimately, has realized there's a sequence of 72 facial expressions and words and things that you say with a certain tone of voice that means, okay, we now need to switch over from listening to action, and he will never get it wrong. He will get it right every time. And 1 out of 17 times he'll do it wrong on purpose so that you can correct him and then be like, oh my God, you're so right. I'm really glad you figured it out.
Laughing,
laugh.
girl.
This shit is real. This is real. This is
Actually,
going
you
to
wouldn't want it to be that bad.
Yes, I'm telling you, this is all going to play out. This is one of those. I really wish I was right about this. That's the future. And it, as an anthropologist, I'm fascinated. But I worry that culture is deranging and that history is the law of unintended consequences.
As an anthropologist, I'm fascinated. Ew. This guy is so overtly sexist. The way that he views women as inferior is just glaring. This prediction of his that we're going to be more traditional because women are finding out that they're not going to be as valuable anymore. It's like, enough with the wishful thinking. There's this like super weird spinster fantasy that men have. It's like Christians where they want people to go to hell so that they can be like, I'm sorry, I was wrong. And they can look down upon them and be like, haha, I knew, you didn't. And it's the same thing with this, where it's like, they want these old ladies to be like, oh, I wish that I could have found a man and kept him, but I was such a bitch or something. Have you literally talked to an old lady before? I have talked to multiple older women who have sworn off men, and they say that they are the happiest they have been. I know a lot of old people with children that don't talk to them, with children that unfortunately have passed away, with husbands that have passed away. So there's this whole thing of like, oh, if you don't get married and reproduce, then you're going to be left alone. It's like, do you have no other relationships in your life? Maybe that's a red flag on you. I don't want children, but I have nieces and nephews, and I'm confident that in the same way that I'm going to take care of my aunts and uncles without children and just elders in general, I'll be taken care of too. Being alone is not a problem. People are usually the problem. Also, I think it's worth mentioning that with the internet nowadays, if you really want to be in a relationship, I don't care what you look like, what your beliefs are, so on and so forth. As long as you don't have specific expectations, you can find a relationship. Okay, I'm not saying to go ahead and do that, but I'm just saying this thing about like people being alone and this is how society is going to look and this is what's going to happen and oh, there's going to be AI wombs and stuff. It's like, let them have it. If you want to have a robot wife girlfriend situation and you want to leave us real women alone, please leave us alone. And then the 5 remaining men who want to date real women, you can come to us. But at that point, it's going to be too late. We will have evolved far beyond what you could imagine in your puny little man brain. It's the hat. It's cutting off the circulation or something. I don't know. Also, with his weird statistics that he can rattle off the top of his head about women being single and stuff, like, ew, that's so weird. Like, climate change is real, right? He talks about scholars and ancient wisdom and stuff. And if this man cracked open a book, he would see that we are in a patriarchal society. So I find it a little bit ironic that you think that in a society dictated mostly by men, designed by men and for men, you think that the derangement of our society and culture, if you want to get phase to take a shot every time he says derangement of culture. But you want to blame that on women. That's the dog whistle, you know? He's straight up outing himself as a misogynist. You know, it's the whole Eve ate the apple concept. They love to blame women when it's like, we're just trying to exist and survive.
Failed to sacrifice by having children. We have not made that sacrifice. That has now created a debt, in my opinion. And so the question becomes, again, I'm assigning the word moral to it only because religion makes that moral framework. People are going to argue that. The next 3 years are going to play this out. And I want people to play this clip back when this consumes culture. And all anybody is talking about is whether religion is peak importance. And I think for the reasons that I've laid out, they will see religion really is that important. Okay, so I think we have incurred what the world will call a moral debt by not having children. The question becomes, how do we pay that moral debt? And how do we sacrifice? Now, the answer is our company has a mission. And I think if it didn't, we would end up profoundly empty. And we would walk away going, why have we done this? We've pursued money for what? Like, it would be meaningless. Now, thank God, I ran into that when I was like 28. And I realized, oh, hey, pursuing money makes me feel profoundly empty inside.
It is so weird the way he talks about the relationship in terms of their business impact theory. So they're talking about just life choices and how, you know, are you gonna like regret having children if you don't? Because they don't have kids. Like them, my boyfriend and I don't want kids, so that makes it easy. But it's personally my goal to be a working wife with no children and have my man be a stay-at-home husband. Because I love working, but like cooking and cleaning and kind of managing household stuff, it's like, I enjoy some things about it, but I really enjoy the hustle of work, and my man is totally happy to do the housework, and he is so on board with this plan. Again, it comes back to compatibility with your partner. Like, to make these sweeping statements doesn't just apply to everybody. Like, that's not the case for us, you know. And red pillers, they talk about red pill a little bit, and like trad wives and stuff, and they just talk about relationships as such a binary, and if a woman chooses career over family, she'll be unfulfilled and depressed. It's just like, according to whom? Like, where are you getting this information from? Have you ever talked to like a diverse group of people? You know, because yeah, of course, some people are going to feel some type of way always. They're stuck behind these podcast mics, and it's like, what you're describing is not real life. Maybe it is for you, but if that's the case, I feel sorry for you. No, I would feel sorry if he wasn't sexist.
All right, so in all that, I heard a lot of, hey, I'm doing my thing, I'm learning, I'm growing, but you also have to learn and grow. And if we're right that culture is deranging, and largely by that I mean that men and women are heading in opposite directions. Men are checking out, women are on a path, but they're sort of finding a one-sided thing where they're ending up more and more alone, and they want to be in a relationship, but they can't find it. Your answer is very much, we're not dimming your light, girl. Like, you go do your thing as strong as you can. So given that the red pill, I think culture has called the time of death on the red pill, and if you look at all the headlines now, red pill is dead. And I think it's true. I think that the core concepts of the red pill got bizarre enough that they end up failing to help men, and we see in this time of the red pill, men are still going in a direction that's not necessarily helpful. So if that advice set is dead, what advice do you have to men?
Focus on yourself and how you become, like, if power is the thing, because I know that that's for you very important. If you want to feel powerful, what does that look like for you, and then how do you get it? Now, of course, always assuming that the power is going to be used for good, not for evil. So make sure I say that. But when you focus on women do this, women are like this, I can't believe, you can't control them.
We actually do need each other to hit a higher goal than either of us could hit by ourselves. So yes, I can survive, and I can do wonderful things and have a fine life. But I'm with you because together we can do something that we couldn't do alone. And this goes back to the kids thing. It's like, well, I can't have a kid without you. You can't have a kid without me. And so it's a default for people. It's a great proof of like, hey, we're doing this thing together that we could not do alone. And that feels awesome. And so if you don't have that, you need something else to stand in for that. And there's no doubt, if either one of us died or whatever, Impact Theory would be a fundamentally different company. We can do a thing with the company that we can only do together. So in that way, there's what we can do individually. And it's amazing and wonderful and a full life fulfillment, all of it. There's a higher thing that we can do, but we need each other to do it.
I hold two competing ideas in my head at all times. At all times. I don't want children at all, but maybe I do. I want to be a freaking badass at work, but I also love nurturing my husband. Society, the internet, it's like, are you this or are you that? Are you red pill or are you a feminist? And I'm like, they're missing the freaking point. And now the more bifurcated people are getting, the worse it's getting. And I'm like, no. Instead of arguing and going apart and being even more stern on your position, loosen up. Widen those blinders.
Again, this is so wildly overgeneralized about people, because like I said, like, I don't want kids, and I'm at this point in my life at 30 years old, I'm very used to seeing non-traditional lifestyles, especially from people who grew up in traditional lifestyles. They're just following their own North Star, as Tom would say. I know in my gut that if I did have children, I would regret it. Whereas at this point in my life, I don't want kids. And at 80 years old, I'm not gonna be looking back thinking, man, I should have had kids. I'm gonna be thinking, I'm so glad that I trusted my gut. I'm so glad that I didn't listen to society, that I listened to my heart and what my soul wanted. I was talking to my mom recently, and we were just talking about how people are asking her like, oh, you're gonna have grandkids and stuff. And she's like, she even said to me, she's like, it's just weird because it's like, would grandkids be fun sometimes? Like, yeah, for sure. But I'm not you. Like and I really want you all to internalize that too. If you're feeling pressure from your parents or family to have children, that choice is yours and yours alone, as much as they act like it's not. Once again, we have evolved past these caveman days of which Tom speaks. You know, it's like, oh, evolutionarily speaking, we were meant to do this and this and this. It's like, evolutionarily speaking, were you meant to sit down on your ass in a chair with electromagnetic fields flying around you, wearing polyester plastic clothing for 4 hours at a time with fluorescent lights? I don't think so, Tom. I really don't. It's the cherry picking.
Why I think religions have survived. So religions focus on the family. They focus on having kids because it gives shared purpose, which when you have shared purpose, you have unity. And when you think about what is the right atom to look at society in, and ultimately, I think it's the individual, but the individual has to be nested inside of ever increasingly large entities. And the first non-individualistic entity is the dyad of husband and wife, which traditionally very rapidly, because there was no birth control, and I don't think people understand how much birth control has, and I'll use this word because I think it's accurate in its connotations, has deranged relationships. Without that, very rapidly the dyad becomes a family, and that family unit becomes the first complete unit where all of your psychological needs are going to be met. Something together fills that. We are very attentive to our dyad, of the two of us together, and what that means. And then other things we build proxies for, whether it's having dogs that, let's call that, people are going to squabble over percentages, but let's call that 1/10%, whatever small amount you want to give it. But it allows us to express to some degree those elements of our personality, wanting to caretake, whatever. It's perfect for me because it's a child I can lock in the kitchen and go do other things. But we fully understand that we obviously with children can dial that to a much higher degree, but it gives us these proxies, and obviously being very thoughtful about sort of different phases of our life and what will mean more. But okay, so dangerous path because it's very hard to extract from a business the same kind of meaning and purpose that you will get from just a child, just because nature doesn't really understand the proxy of business like that, so it's a little bit removed.
Oh yeah, by the way, birth control has deranged our relationships. Sorry y'all, if you're on birth control, you're deranged. Join the club like myself, contributing to the derangement of society like this. I am. Yet another man talking about birth control. Dave Asprey does the same. I'll link that video about that up here. But once again, we have evolved past the need to have tons and tons of children. So to put the onus on women is so weird. And then he talks about his own dogs, his puppies, as proxies and tries to rate their, the love you experience. I'm just like, what? I know somebody who has children, and unfortunately they lost an animal recently, and that animal was as old as their college-aged child. And you're talking about it, and she's like, it's like a child. I mean, it's really awful. People don't understand. And I agree 100%. Like, I don't have kids, but I have a bunny, and I love her with all my heart and soul. And I understand there is a difference, but I would never describe her as a proxy. She occupies her own space in my heart. She's someone I would do anything for. So I really hope they really love their dogs. I do.
All right, the morality of the situation. I'm playing with this idea, but this really strikes me as true. So if I'm right about religion, and religion is the only medium through which ideas on how to live a life well will propagate for people of all IQ levels, that's why you see over and over and over the sense of morality around a strong dyad, relationships being sacred, that children are a sacred obligation, that God seeks sacrifice, that you must give there's one, I don't know the Bible well enough, but I know there's one moment where a man is asked to sacrifice his child. And in being willing to sacrifice his child, God allows him to keep his child. And by the way, anybody that is interested in this has got to go engage with Jordan Peterson and what he's doing on We Who Wrestle with God. I am not religious, and I find it profoundly useful for understanding what evolution has baked into my brain. And it's just that religion encapsulates these ideas really well for people of all IQs. So when you look at that, you think, ooh, I actually think that from just an evolutionary standpoint, you and I have violated a covenant that nature has planted deeply in our brain. And so I'm going to give that a moral tinge to it. We have violated a covenant. We have done something worse, because you're saying it's not worse, it's not bad. I think it's worse and bad.
You do, or religion does?
I do. Religion simply encapsulates ideas that are geared towards how to live a life well. So when I say moral, I simply mean if you deviate from that path, you will be punished. So if I'm right, then all that matters is how you feel about yourself when you're by yourself. If you don't understand that, you don't have to call it God, but you must sacrifice. You must sacrifice. And you and I have protected our relationship.
The Jordan Peterson plug. I was waiting for that. Again, he's aligning himself with agents of the patriarchy. And that actually, I was wanting to say this about Lisa, is that while I really like her and respect her based on this interview, at the same time, we have to remember that women can be, and white women specifically, agents of the patriarchy and white supremacy. And I'm including myself in that. Like, as a white woman, if you look at Lisa, like, she seems very open-minded, yet she's closely tied to this man, her husband, who is at the same time aligning himself with somebody like Jordan Peterson, a manosphere guy. Jordan Peterson is like a champion of incels. So the leap from that to like QAnon is not very large. It almost makes me wonder, like, is Tom just a rage baiter? I don't know. But the fact that he's encouraging even like some of these lines of thought is just disgusting to me. And yeah, like Lisa is a strong, self-assured woman. And so you could be like, well, maybe she's just influenced, like maybe she's allowed to have her own thoughts and da da da. Yes, but again, like she is aligned with this person and she's not saying you're wrong about that. And she's not saying things like Ming Tao are dangerous and they're dangerous for men. And somebody who's good at their job as a worker is going to make you leave your encounter feeling empowered and better about yourself. You know, like all of these things that are true, she's not speaking up about them. So, you know, it's just kind of like, wah, wah, you know? This video just screams to me, you have too much time on your hands. That's all I can say. I just feel like the way that they speak, the way that, like, I'll focus on Tom, the way that Tom speaks specifically, you know, in terms of all this culture and stuff, is very evident that he is surrounded by people wrapped up in this esoteric world with a lot of money, a lot of people in tech, a lot of people in crypto. And so he's yapping about things in culture and in a world that he's not even participating in. He's affiliated in an isolated and privileged way. It's just not reflective of the average experience, in my opinion. The average person doesn't have the time and energy to be thinking about the derangement of culture. You know, like, of course, everyone thinks about stuff like that, or most people, a lot of people, some people. Others. Again, I just think it's so obvious that Tom is talking to people who have like this same belief system that he has, I guess, in terms of business and leaving your mark in the world and the direction of culture. It's a major echo chamber. Scroll through his channel for 2 seconds and you'll see exactly what I mean. So he's spending so much of his time talking to people just about stuff like that. If you're spending so much of your time in this one world and you have the money and the time and the privilege to spend your time in these esoteric spaces versus, you know, working your 9 to 5 or going to the grocery store. Like, obviously he does day-to-day stuff, but it's a very different experience than somebody who makes 50K a year.
What makes something right or wrong?
Yeah, because that's the thing. It's like, if you ought to do this and you don't do it, it's wrong.
What defines ought? When ought you do something?
Right or wrong is, I mean, it's whether you should or shouldn't.
Yes, but what makes something what you should or shouldn't
based
do?
on your belief system.
Okay, but how is that? What's that anchored to?
Answer my question, because I don't know.
The vast majority of humanity, if they were sitting in your seat right now, would do exactly what you're doing, or they would bluff. That's the f***ing problem. This is what I am really worried about society right now, because people have nothing to anchor to. This is why when Jordan Peterson started talking about religion, at first I was like, why is he talking about religion? Like, this doesn't make any sense. It's like, bro, go back to being the internet's dad. This is such a weird side quest. It just was so random to me. And I was like, okay, wait, hold on. Life's not me one immutable truth. If somebody is very smart and sincere, you better understand what it is that they believe before you reject it. There's actually a principle for this called Chesterton's fence. If you find a fence in the middle of a field and have no idea what it does, don't tear it down. Figure out first what it was designed for. If that design is no longer needed, then you tear it down. So I see Jordan going ham on religion, and I'm just like, I don't understand. So let me dig in and figure out what on earth he's talking about. I'm now putting words, in fact, it won't do me well to put words in Jordan's mouth, so I will speak for myself now. What I learned about myself in going deep on that was that, my belief system isn't anchored to anything that I can articulate. So let me write down what is my belief system anchored on. And my belief system is anchored on efficacy in achieving a goal that is honorable, with the North Star at all times of maximizing human flourishing. Once you understand that chain, for me, you can predict all of my beliefs, my value systems, because I'm just like, will this increase human flourishing? Yes. Will this action be maximally efficient in driving me towards the outcome of human flourishing? No, then I need to find something better. Yes, cool, then I'm going to do it. To misunderstand either that I'm driving towards human flourishing or that I worship at the altar of efficacy, I will be very confusing to people. So what I'm saying is, what is right, what one ought to do, is that which is efficient at moving yourself and others towards human flourishing.
Again, you guys, this is just like, this is very much a privileged white man conversation, because he talks about, oh, I'm so worried about society, yet he said, I'm an anthropologist. But from my understanding and studies, humans are always arguing about what is morally superior. That's been the case since forever. You know, like, don't you think people in the French Revolution were like, society is deranged? Like, that's what I'm saying. And the way he talks about changing the world, I'm curious what it is. I'll have to do more research on their mission, I guess. He talks about a mission. Referring to Jordan Peterson as the internet's dad made me throw up in my mouth. That just goes to show you the different sides of the internet, because like, I never thought that people saw him that way. That's so gross to me. But again, this callback to religion, you're referring to specific religious practices that, again, are based in a structure that may work for some people, but why is it so wrong to not be in this one specific structure? It's because a lot of religion comes down to controlling populations. That's why he's talking about going back to religion and things, because it's the oldest means of control in the world, it seems. It's gross to watch this for so many reasons, but one of the reasons is that it's very clear that Tom thinks that he knows how to live better than other people because he can take all this time to delve into these different texts and to listen to these podcasts and talk to all these people and yada yada yada. But man, it's just so presumptuous to me. And I'm scrolling through his page right now. When I scroll way back, Tom has pretty great views and viewership. Quite a few videos are in the millions and hundreds of thousands, and he has 4.22 million subscribers. So very impressive. However, this video, which was posted, let's see, it was posted 2 weeks ago. It is May 17th. This video with Tom's wife was posted April 30th, so 17 days ago. So 4.22 million subscribers, and your video only has 53,000 views. That's a terrible ratio. I have 2,000 subscribers and my top video has 63,000 views, just to give you a comparison. They also talk about legacy in this video a little bit, and I wanted to touch on that because I just think that the weird obsession with legacy is so pointless. It really is, because like I said, I mean, as much as you plan to have a legacy through children, you never know what's gonna happen with your offspring and like future generations. You just never know. Also, like, you're gonna be dead, so why do you care so much? It's so weird to me. It's like, oh, I want to be remembered like this, I want to be remembered like that. It's like, yeah, I guess it'd be nice, but like, I genuinely do not care. Again, there's so many things happening in the world, and I'll just let my actions speak for themselves. Like, think of me how you want to think of me. So my prediction for this channel, Tom Bilyeu's channel, which used to be called Impact Theory, by the way, I don't know when he changed it. My theory is that they are going to have to pivot within the next 2 years because the numbers just have not, they're not where they used to be, like closer to COVID times. I think he likes the platform too much to give it up in order to focus on like Quest or something. But I think there's going to be some sort of change. Maybe he'll get a co-host. Maybe he'll delve deeper into manosphere stuff. I don't know. Either way, I know I'm going to hate it. Thank you so much for going on this long and twisted journey with me. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Despite the depressing nature of a lot of the topics, I had a lot of fun making it, and I really love making my videos with you in mind. And I'm like, oh, I hope, you know, my audience catches on to this, and I'm curious what they're going to say in the comments about that. I really appreciate if you feel so inclined, if you left a comment. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, things on scams, cults. Maybe I haven't talked about manifesting in a while because I've really enjoyed doing more like scammy, culty, commentary type vibes. But like I said, I do have a manifestation playlist. Patreon, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all listed below in the caption. And I will see you in my next video. Thanks for watching. And don't ever be worried about being a slut. Bye.